I have failed us in doing what I'm about to do. And I failed us for two reasons, okay? Because I'm about to ask you to step in to serve in a very significant way, okay? And I'm about to ask you to step in and serve, not out there, in here, okay? In the context of this church. And so the two reasons that I've failed you on this are, one, it's a spiritual reason. So many of you come here and you come from churches, or you, either one or two things. You've never been to church and you kind of think like there's a hook here, and there's an ulterior motive for everything. And I understand that because it's easy to look out on the landscape of churches and be skeptical about what they're about. And spiritually, I never want to be like, hey, this is a pay-for-play deal, because Jesus already paid, okay, and it's finished. And so there's no serving that you step into to make up for anything that you've done. That's not how this rolls. And honestly, unfortunately, if you have been a part of churches, a lot of them just subtly give across the message of guilt, and they motivate you by guilt. And I just detest that with all of my heart, with all of my being, and I never, ever want you to feel that. And so I shy away from saying, hey, you need to serve here. You need to dedicate your time and energy to caring for this family. Now, listen, I'll leverage everything I got to get you to go serve the world. And those of you that have been around here, you know that. I mean, let's go build houses in Mexico. Heck yeah, let's go. Let's go throw parties for Harrisburg. Yes, do it. Let's go adopt kids. Let's go care for DSS workers. Let's go jump into foster care. Let's go whatever. Let's go. Because here's the second reason that I just fail us in this area, is because I am not about leading us to dedicate all of our time and energy to making us a greater, bigger place. That's not the mission here. Okay? And it's real important for you to know that the message that I fear sometimes when I speak it is, hey, give here, serve here, invite people here. Because what is it about? It's about here. When the primary message of Jesus to his closest followers is go and make disciples. And so I leverage everything getting you to go. All right? And I've failed you in saying, hey, there is family business, and there is a mass amount of opportunity and need for us to step in and serve each other and each other's families here. And we need you to do that, okay? So here's what I need you to do. If you say, hey, you know what, I'm in, this is my church, okay? Because we don't have membership here. We just think signing your name to a meaningless document that nobody follows up on tends to be meaningless. And so we just don't do it. But if in your heart you say, this is my church. And if in your heart you say, this is my place, this is my family, then I need you to extend your Sunday mornings, okay? We do 2 services, and we don't do 2 services because we need space, because there's several hundred empty seats, and I'm positive that we could, combine and be plenty fine. We do 2 services so that people who serve during one service can engage and participate and experience the other service. And so for some of you, I just need you to, you just got to wake up another hour and a half early and step in and serve during the first service, and then come and do the regular routine here. Some of you might want to switch it up, because you might want to come to the first service and kind of get a little extra boost, and then go and serve during the second service wherever. But we need that to be a part of your routine. Some of you, we need earlier than that. Those of you that love coffee and you're up at 6 a.m. anyway, just come on in and serve. We can help you set up and get a little workout in even, okay? I'm just telling you, you can walk about 4 miles on setup team. I shouldn't say that. It's not that long, really. It's easy. Or you can stay after But it's family business. And it's taking care and it's serving one another here. And you need to be a part of it. And you need to make plan in your schedule to be a part of it. Please hear me. We are about building a family that goes and serves the world. In my family, I'm not raising kids so that we can be a bigger family and all stay in one happy house. And it's not a happy house, right? We raise kids and we send them to love and serve the world. That's what we do. We have family responsibility, and we take care of family responsibility, and we build a great family culture so that as a body, we can go out and serve the world. So let's take care of business and family here, okay? So I want you to go to our website, taketherisk.com. You can say join the mission or serve. I think it says join the mission now, but anyway, it's one of those. And you click on that, and when you go through this page, then you can look at the different opportunities, but you can also click, so join the mission, you're invited, sign up today, and it'll bring you to this page. And this page just has a couple areas that you can click on so that we can get, kind of in the system and be able to follow up with you. And just add your name and contact and all that stuff. And we'll just do this, okay? I promise you won't be completely left alone. We'll be a team here. And we even have crickets that will help out. Because honestly, one of the things we need is we need a cricket killing team. And you think I'm joking, but oh no, I'm not. And so please endure our friend. I think it's just one. So when I say a cricket killing team, that's what I mean, okay? And so, hey, you guys back there, it's in the wall, okay? I know where it hides. Sorry. One day we'll have our cricket-free building. Maybe. All right. So anyway, step in. Seriously, guys, serve. Listen, honestly, you know this. The more you step in, the more feeling that we have, this is a body, this is a family, and we're taking care of business, okay? And the better equipped we are. God has some special things for you to step in to serve. Some of you are like, I've only been here 5 times. Great. There is no better way to get to know a few other people than to step in and serve with them. Okay? And you'll be surprised. You'll be stepping in, you'll serve somebody, and you think they've been here 17 years, and they've only been here 4 weeks. And it's just the way it is, okay? So jump in, all right? Students, high school, you guys know we care about you. We take care of you guys. You got great leaders. You got people that love you dearly, okay? You can serve here and make a gigantic difference. You can make a gigantic difference in the life of a 4th grader, a 3rd grader, a 6th grader, okay? If you just get outside yourself, create some margin in your world, and make a difference, okay? Do it, all right? It'll change your life. Okay, is that good enough? 2 things I'm worried about. There's no guilt trip here. We serve because Christ has set us free to serve, okay? God has taken care of all your condemnation in the cross, Jesus Christ. So please don't step into serve laden by guilt. You won't do it well. Serve with the freedom of Jesus Christ and step in to love unconditionally our family. Secondly, we are not building the greatness of Venture Church, and we are not here to declare whatever perceived greatness of David Henderson or anything, okay? We're just not that special. But this is a special place, okay? But we're not about ourselves. We're about the glory of God moving out in a natural way of family. And we're going to treat this community as our responsibility, as our stewardship. And I'm preparing you guys for a day. I'm telling you, there's a day, and we're not there yet, but we're getting there, when we are going to remove aloneness from this entire community. That there will be no one in this radius that says, I feel alone, and doesn't feel the presence of God in you guys. Ready, present, available. Okay? Because we are responsible for this segment of this society. And God's put us here for a reason. And so let's be this family, okay? All right? Because that's what God has for us. Can you pray with me? God, we are grateful, Lord, that you have served us with the lavish love of Jesus Christ, and that you have freed us to step in and serve others and the joy that comes with it. And I pray that the truth of my heart and the truth of your word would dominate, and that we would step in to serve in amazing ways and build this family for your sake, for your glory. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. There's a 29-year-old stockbroker that was very, very successful. Tremendously successful guy. And he grew up in a fairly, well-to-do family. You kind of know that when one of his favorite sports is fencing. Like, who does fencing, right? Other than a few maybe on a leader side of the world. And that was one of his deep passions. And he also had another, hobby or sport, and it was skiing, and he loved to ski. And he didn't just love to ski, wherever he could go. He loved to go to the best places in the world to ski. And so at 29 years old, he and a couple of friends had planned a trip to ski the Swiss Alps. I mean, because that's probably the pinnacle of skiing, I guess, if that's what you do. And he's prepared to go there, and literally a few days before he's ready to go, he gets a call from another one of his friends. He says, hey, instead of going skiing, you need to leave your skis at home. You need to come over to Prague with me, because I need you to see something. And because I guess he trusted this friend, I don't really know the whole story, but because he trusted this friend, he literally canceled his plans to ski the Swiss Alps, and he flew to Prague instead. And when he got to Prague, he saw something that he had to do something about. The year on this is 1938, and this guy is a guy named Nicholas Winton. And here's a part of his story.
On a trip to Prague just before the outbreak of the Second World War, the young stockbroker saw the growing refugee crisis. He arranged 8 trains from Prague to London, delivering almost 700 mainly Jewish children to the safety of foster families.
It was not something I felt I had to do, it was something I wanted to do.
He never spoke about it for 50 years until his wife discovered documents about the rescue mission in their loft. But even when he broke his silence publicly, it was regret for the children he didn't manage to save that he most wanted to talk about.
250 children in the train, ready to leave in Prague. War broke out and they were sitting ducks then for Hitler. They all were killed.
Some of those who survived themselves in their 80s watched him receive the Czech Republic's highest honor just last year at the age of 105. He was suitably modest to the very end.
In a way, perhaps I shouldn't have lived so long to give everybody the opportunity to exaggerate everything in the way they are doing today.
He was said to be uneasy being called the British Schindler, but the children he saved, their childhood long gone, were always proud to be forever known as Winton's children.
Try to read you a little bit more of the details. War looked inevitable. An escape, especially for children, seemed hopeless given the restrictions against Jewish immigration in the West. There was only 2 countries in 1938 and 39 that would receive immigrants, and that was Sweden and England. And they would only do that if they were guaranteed homes, families, to take those kids in. So this whole thing involved danger. It involved bribes, forgery, secret contracts with Gestapo, 9 railroad trains, an avalanche of paperwork, and a lot of money. Nazi agents started following him in his Prague hotel room. So this guy goes on a trip and stays in a hotel with his friend and sees and sets up shop in his hotel room to figure out how to do something about it. This guy's a stockbroker. 29-year-old single guy. In his Prague hotel room, he met terrified parents desperate to get their children to safety, although it meant surrendering them to strangers in foreign land. As their numbers grew, a storefront office was opened in Prague. Long lines attracted Gestapo attention. Perilous confrontations were resolved with bribes. Eventually, he registered more than 900 children, although he had names and details of over 5,000 children. In early 1939, a few months after he went to Prague, he left 2 friends, Trevor and Bill, in charge in Prague and returned to London to find foster homes, raise money, and arrange transportation. He and a few volunteers, including his mother, calling themselves the British Committee for Refugees from Czechoslovakia, children's section. Literally, when you listen to the story, he took some kind of society, this children's, and he put children's section, he forged children's section on the official documents and then presented those as like his organization because he didn't have time to create his own organization. He had photos of children printed and appealed for funds and foster homes and newspaper ads and churches and synagogue bulletins. Hundreds of families volunteered to take children and money trickled in from donors. Not enough to cover all the costs, but Mr. Winton made up the difference himself. He also appealed to the Home Office for entry visas, but the response was too slow and time was too short. This was a few months, he says, before the war broke out. So we forged all the documents. This is my kind of guy. In Prague, Mr. Chadwick quietly cultivated the chief of the Gestapo and arranged for forged transit papers and bribes to be passed to key Nazi and Czech railway officials who threatened to halt trains or seize the children unless they were paid off. The Gestapo chief proved instrumental clearing the trains and transit papers. Mr. Winton sent money, some for bribes, some to cover expenses for children whose parents had been arrested or shot or had fled into hiding, while many of the Czech families sold possessions to pay for their children's escape. The red tape and paperwork seemed endless. But on March 14th, 1939, it all came together. Hours before Hitler dismembered the Czech provinces, the first 20 children left Prague on a train. Survivors told of searing scenes at the station platform in the final moments before departure as children sobbed and pleaded not to be sent away and parents faced giving up their children. Mr. Winton and his colleagues later arranged for 8 more trains to get the rest of the children out, crossing the Third Reich through Nuremberg. Literally, the pathway through this on the train went straight across Germany. Ultimately arriving in Liverpool Street Station in London. There, he and the host families met the children. Each refugee had a small bag and wore a name tag, but only 7 of the 8 trains made it through, the last in early August, bringing a total rescue to 669 children. About 250 children, the largest group, were on board the last train out on September 1st, 1939. On that day, however, Hitler invaded Poland. All borders controlled by Germany were closed, and Mr. Winton's rescue efforts came to an end. Within hours of the announcement, the train disappeared, he recalled. None of the 250 children aboard were ever seen again. All were believed to have perished in concentration camps. 29-year-old single guy who says, you know what? I want to do something. You know what? I'm gonna not go on my ski vacation because a friend says I need to see something. I'm gonna go see something, and I'm not going to look away. And I'm going to adjust my schedule and my finances and whatever to make a difference. And I don't know how to make a difference. I've never run a government organization. I've never tried to rescue anybody from anything. I'm a 29-year-old single guy. But I can do something, and I'm going to figure it out. And 669 kids and their families, which number in the thousands now, kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, owe their life to this 29-year-old single guy that says, I'm not going to stand by and do nothing. And so one of the amazing features about this story is that this guy ultimately got married, and 50 years after this took place, his wife, who he had never told this about, never spoken a word, finds a scrapbook in their attic. And the scrapbook contains the details of all these kids, including names and, and she literally asks him, what's this about? And he just says, oh, it's nothing. We just need to throw that out. And she said, no, you need to tell me what this is about. And it's through her persistence that we even know this story 50 years after it happened. And so ultimately the BBC got a hold of the story, and I guess this is the late 80s or early 90s. They arranged a special, and they invited Nicholas Winton under some kind of pretense that he didn't know to be a part of this audience and sit him in the front row. And they surrounded him with adults who he had saved as kids. And you watch this.
All the letters. But back here is the list of all the children. This is Vera Diamant, now Vera Gissing. We did find her name on his list. Vera Gissing is with us here tonight. Hello, Vera. And I should tell you that you are actually sitting next to Nicholas Winton. Hello.
And it was just so wonderful, so terribly, terribly touching.
Can I ask, is there anyone in our audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton? If so, could you stand up, please?
Phew, yeah. Jesus replied with a story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him half dead beside the road. And by chance, a priest came along, but when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. A temple assistant walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed by on the other side. Then a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey, took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day, he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, "Take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I'll pay you the next time I'm here." Now, which of these 3 would you say was a neighbor to the man who was attacked by bandits? Jesus asked. The man replied, "Well, the one who showed him mercy." And then Jesus said, yes, now go and do the same. Probably the most popular story that Jesus tells right here. It's the Good Samaritan. It's all about what we want to be, and every time I hear the story, you're always like, man, I hope I'm that guy. I wish I'm that, that person. I want to be that kind of person. And you hear Good Samaritan stories all over, and when you see them, it's one of the great things. There's a lot of negative things about social media. One of the great things is that it just highlights some Good Samaritan stuff. But you say, oh man, I hope I'm that person. I wish I would be that person. And you got these feelings in here. And today we could cover this story and talk about a ton of different aspects of it, because there's so much there. But I want to single in on one aspect of this story, because I think maybe it's the one aspect that you need to hear and embrace and do something about, because something is keeping you from being the person that your good intentions wants you to be. I mean, I know that not every single person has these feelings of, oh, I want to be that. But most of you in this room, you've had good intention feelings. And you've thought, wow, like, maybe I should, and then there's something that stops you. And I want to talk about that, because I want you to be free to follow through on the good intentions that you have. When I look at this story and when I think about Nicholas Winton, I think about one aspect, and this is the aspect we want to talk about. And that's this thing called margin. Do you have the margin to actually act on your good intentions? Do you have margin in your life to be a servant? And when I think about margin, I think about maybe 4 or 5 aspects. I think about time, because we got to figure out some time margin, because it takes time to be a servant. You can't serve without time. I think about our giftedness and our talents, like what we're really good at. And you know what? You can use what you're good at just for your enjoyment, or just, to be better at it and practice more at it. Or you can turn around and use that kind of talent and skill to serve somebody else. And then I think about treasure, because listen, most serving places and most people that you serve, it costs money. It just does. I also think about like emotional margin. Like that we just, we got so much going on that there's a cap in there somewhere. But you know what? To really serve people, you do it with your heart, and it involves your emotions, and they get tied up in it. And so my question is, like, if you're on a ski trip and had a friend say, hey, come to Prague, I want you to see something. Do you have like some margin to actually make that kind of difference? If you're on the road to Jericho, which you probably aren't walking that road many times, and you see somebody beaten, left for dead, do you have the margin? Not just to stop and care, but once you see, are you ready to do something? Are you willing to, you ready to get dirty? Some of you have what is I've lost the word. You have just a clean phobia. What is that? You're hypochondriac, is that right? You're a germ, whatever. Like, you're not touching anybody that has blood. Not without, 12 pair of rubber gloves and mask and, no. I'll never forget this story. And here we go. I took a group from here and we went to Ethiopia. This is years and years and years ago. And one of the things we did was we would go and visit Mother Teresa AIDS orphanage. 400 to 600 kids, all HIV positive. And I'd kind of be preparing the people on this trip, hey, this is what it's going to be like, and we're going to serve these kids. And I remember one of the team guys, and he goes to church here, he'll remember this. it kind of came with me like, like what do I do? I mean, he didn't want to ask me, but I don't want to get AIDS. I mean, that's just what's the question. And I mean, it was just years ago. And anyway, and I was like, man, I just want to pray for you. We're going. That's what we do. And I can remember walking behind him, about 40 yards ahead of me, walking in. And listen, when you walk in this place, the children just kind of swarm you. It's just not, you can't. And I can see, like I can watch the back of him. And he's like this. He's like this. And then I watch him go like this. And I watch two kids grab his hand immediately. And I just like, some of you can't get that. You can't get there. You couldn't be the Good Samaritan because the guy's bloody and messy, and you're going to put him on your own donkey, and you don't have leather seats that you can wipe off easy, and so you got to, cloth seats, and blood doesn't come out, and oh no, I don't know how to do this, and whatever, your kids are with you, or whatever, how am I going to do this? And then you get them to a place of care, and we take care of him, but we can't stay here forever, so we've got other responsibilities and other appointments, and we got to get on. And so we arrange for people to care for him while we're gone, and we pay for that, and we leave money. And we also say, hey, like, if it's more than this, then cover it, and I'll be back here next time, because I'm assuming this is a story, obviously, that Jesus tells. This is not a real life instant. But I'm assuming stuff about a fake story that Jesus tells to make a point, okay? But I'm assuming that this guy's a pretty faithful guy and the innkeeper trusts him, and it's probably not the first time that he's traveled through there. I'm also assuming that this is probably not the first time he's helped somebody. Because you don't just show up one day and be Nicholas Winton. I'm confident that that dude was raised by a family that served people. And I'm confident that that's not the first time that he had his eyes open and said, hey, I'm going to do something. And so often the story that comes to my mind, because somebody burned it in me years ago when I was young and I was trying to serve, and you want to be like, no, I want to do bigger, I want to do more, I want to, and he's like, listen, David, he killed the lion, he killed a bear, and God's getting him ready to kill the giant. And that's kind of like, it's not the first time that these guys do this. It's part of who they are. It's their character, because they have created a life of margin in order to be a servant. So I just got 4 ideas, and then we're done. There's a little bit to them, but here we go. I need you to commit to a place of consistent service. Okay? Look, it's fine to a little bit here, a little bit here. Or I'll step in here when I'll participate in a food drive and I'll buy a thing of groceries. Consistent service. I'm talking about showing up because people are counting on you to show up, and when you show up, you make a difference. Okay? Now, for me, it's really important because I'm asking you to serve consistently in this organization that I lead under God's guidance and leadership. And I have a hang-up in asking anybody to do anything that I myself aren't willing to do. And so I serve in different places here, okay? Trust me. But it's also my job, and it's important for me to serve in another organization that I do not lead. And I serve under somebody, and I do what they tell me to do and what's needed to be done. And so for me, that took an expression 6 years ago in coaching some football over the middle school. And I love coaching football. I really do. It's a great joy for me. But why I do it isn't, it's to win some games, don't get me wrong, but because I hate to lose. But I remember a kid that I coached 4 years ago. I coached him 4 years ago and 3 years ago when he was in 7th and 8th grade. Scrawny kid. Like, it's the kind of kid that you're like, you're never getting on the field, buddy. You know that. I know. But if you can help us in practice, you can really help this team, because we got to practice against somebody. And I'm telling you, like, the guy gave me everything he's got in practice. And he got hit multiple times really hard carrying the ball to practice against our defense. And it's just a tough kid. But the reason he was tough is because he came from a really tough place. His parents weren't in the picture. I don't even think family members were in the picture. It was a weird story to kind of piece together. And he'd been, jostled around different. I mean, this guy, there's no security. I mean, 7th grade, nothing. And he's scrawny, and I was really scrawny. 7th grade was horrible for me. So anybody that's in 7th grade, you have my whole heart and attention, okay? Particularly when you're a little kid, all right? But man, like, just heart. And I took care of him, man. I'm like, he was like right beside me. I was like, just stand beside me because I'm going to need somebody to do something, and I know you'll do it. And okay, coach, okay, coach, okay, coach. And after 8th grade football, I don't teach over there or anything, so I kind of just lost touch. I had no idea. And you know what? You're just praying, okay, God, take care of this guy. So this past Friday night, I go to the ball game. And this guy stops me. And I think he's either looking me in the eye or just I'm looking up at him just a little bit. He says, hey, coach, I know I never got on the field, but I'm starting on the JV team. I'm like, man, good for you. And he was so proud. Man, I was like, yeah, I gave him a hug. And I was like, man, how you doing? How you doing? He's like, oh, I'm good. All right, everybody that's in chaos is always good. And I said, listen, you don't have my number still, do you? He's like, no. I was like, give me your phone. Type my number in, Coach Henderson. Looked him in the eye. Buddy, if you ever need anything, you call me. You call me. And he, big eyes. Okay, coach, okay. And that's why I coach. It's to be there. But you got to be there. And you got to consistently show up. And you got to show up in a way where people are counting on you to be there and counting on you to make a difference. And we all want that kind of, I love that, but it starts at tryouts 2 days ago, and yesterday morning, and tomorrow morning, because of stupid eclipse, we got to practice at 6 a.m. So come on out and join us. That's why, man, but that starts, and then show up. Got to show up. And when I show up over there, I do whatever Coach Hutchins wants me to do, whatever Coach Timerson needs me to do. It's just do it. Let's do it. Commit to a place of consistent service. You need to commit here to a place of consistent service where you can develop relationships and make a difference. Let me tell you what our goal is. This is our ideal. We're not even close to this ideal. But this is what we need. We need, when your kids get dropped off back there, we need them to see the same face every week. And you know what that means? It means somebody has to be here, the same person, every week. Now, you can have vacation and time off, all that stuff. But that kid needs to know that person. When I started this church, some of the people I wrote to for support, because we're raising support, to get us rolling. I wrote letters to some of the people who taught me in elementary school at my church. And they're some of my strongest, faithful people. I think they said, God can use you, He can use anybody. Here's some money, just don't come back to our church, okay? I think that's how it was. But, can you make that difference? Can you be that person to a second grader every week? In the first service, in the second service. So we really need 6 guys and 6 girls to be small group leaders. You don't have to teach. We got the big group taking care of teaching. Now, if you want to come on the teaching team, you can probably do that as well. But we need small group leaders to process that, to have conversations, and we need that in each service. So we need 12 ladies and 12 guys to do that. So our kids can show up every week and have the same face. When they get to 6th grade, this is our ideal. Our 6th grade I would love to attach adult leader-ish, adult-ish. Like when I say adult-ish, like from middle school, let's say like 16 and above, but probably above a little bit. As they get older, that thing moves up. But I'm like step in with somebody and say, you know what? When they're in 6th grade, I'm all in. I'm your small group leader. And I'm going to move with you to 7th grade. And I'm going to move you to 8th grade. And I'm going to get you through 9th grade as your small group leader. Because let me tell you, by the time your kid is in 8th grade and 9th grade, they're done listening to a new voice. And they don't need a new voice at 9th grade that they don't know and don't trust. They need a leader that they've been building a couple years of trust with to navigate that future. And that's what we need. And so ideally, we'd love for people to come in and move with those students as they move through middle school and high school. And you know what? If you're like, hey, I can't handle high schoolers, we'll take the 3 years of middle school. Or I can't handle middle schoolers, we'll take 9th grade through, all right? Some of your high schools are hard to handle. Okay, I know. But just like that's our ideal. But what does that take? It takes people committed to consistent service in a place where you show up and you make a difference. I mean, some of you come in and you enjoy everything that's set up because somebody set it up. And somebody's going to tear it down after you leave. And you just need to be a part of that consistent team. Or serving up here or serving in here. I mean, it just takes it. So let's do it. The second thing is this. Compassion isn't compassion without an object and an action. Jesus is real clear. Like, which of those guys had compassion? Listen, all of us want to be compassionate people. And I'm going to give you credit. You have compassionate feelings in your heart. I know you do. But even just having compassionate feelings does not make you a compassionate person. You have to have the margin to take action on that feeling and express that compassion to a person through an action. And that's costly. Time, talent, energy, whatever. And so that's why some of you are stuck. Because you have compassion, but you don't have the margin to act on it. And one of the reasons you need to be in a consistent place of service is because, listen, if you're just kind of flittering away, waiting for that one big opportunity to happen and to be the Nicholas Winton, it's never going to come. Because you're not used to responding to those things. You're not used to showing up. I'm telling you, the great stories are people who have done the little things consistently. And now they feel this big tug of compassion and they're like, okay, it's me, let's do this. Third thing, you need to create reservoirs of time, talent, and treasure, put treasure in there to serve others. One of the great things I love about Dave Ramsey and that whole system is this. He is consistent about saying, hey, some of you need to get your financial house in order to create some margin so that when you feel that compassion that says, hey, I would really like to do something about it, that you are prepared and ready and you can write that check and you can give that money and you can do it. That's what you have to do. But it takes work to create some reservoirs. Some of you want to pack your schedule so full that like God can't break in, and neither can anybody else. Some of me, I try to create like those reservoirs a little bit, even in the midst of a busy schedule. Like when I'm at the coffee shop, which I'm there maybe 3 days a week in the mornings, and I'm usually knocking out email or doing something that I can easily be interrupted up and get back to. Because I don't know how God wants to break in that margin. I just don't know. And, it just happens if you're awake to it. It just happens. And about a month ago or so, I knew this was going on because somebody in the church kind of informed me, because I've got a mutual friend and he doesn't go to church. But like we've known each other from sports and things like that, and for many years through the community, and he got a kind of tough health diagnosis, and and so I ran into him at the coffee shop, and it was 3 days after I heard from a mutual friend that goes here what's going on, so I knew, And listen, he's never been in this coffee shop. I've never seen him in there. And I was like, hey, man, good to see you. And then you just take that chance. You're like, hey, so-and-so told me what's going on. Like, you mind if I pray for you right here? Because listen, I'll pray for anybody anywhere. I don't care at all. But I know it wakes some people out. His eyes got big, and I'm like, oh. And then his eyes teared up. He says, absolutely, man. I'm scared to death. And just prayed for him. Ran into him a couple days ago at a sports thing. And, hey, how you doing? And, he caught up a little bit on the latest news. And you can pray for him as well. Because he's just a good dude. And he said to me, see, I never go in that coffee shop. It's the first time I've ever been in there. It's like, it's just, and it was, he didn't have words for it. He said, he was trying to say, something happened right there. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I know. Because I do know. I know what God's telling me to do. I know what I do. And I know what God does in those moments. But man, you got to have some reservoir. You can't just fly through life. You got to stop. I could tell you more stories. It's fun stories, but we're already past time. Last thing, develop a ready response for when you see. The priest sees, the temple assistant sees, the Samaritan sees. And he acts. And let me tell you, when you see those things, when you feel those things, when you have those good intentions, I'm telling you, like the enemy's got a strategy for you. He has a scheme that works on what God's trying to do in here. To cut it off. To short circuit it. He can't control what God's doing in your heart, but He can control what expression it takes. And so He cuts it off. And He fills you with fear. He fills you with insecurity. He fills you with all kinds of stuff that says, this is the reason why you can't do this. This is the reason why you can't act on that. That's foolish. That's stupid. That's dangerous. That's going to take too much time. You don't want to get involved with all that. They don't have good leaders there. If you get in there, you'll be all alone. And you'll do all the stuff yourself, and it'll be all on you. And on and on and on and on. And the enemy just yap. You have to have a ready response for all that crap that he's going to fill your head with. You just have to. Or else you're going to be like the priest and the temple servant. And you're going to see it. You're going to do nothing. I'm pretty sure the priest and temple guy, I believe that they had compassion. I believe that they saw it. I believe that they felt it. Just no margin, no strategy for this ready response. Let's do this, guys. Okay? Let's be these people. I'm not great at follow-up from here. We don't have all our systems ready. We don't have tables out in the lobby for each area. We're just not that good. I'm not that good a leader. But I need you to take the initiative. And I need you to go, and I need you to find a place to serve and figure out, okay? And people will contact you and kind of get you, hey, and we'll help you navigate. But it's not just going to be like, we'll do our best to lay out a carpet for you, but you still got to walk on it. You still got to show up, and you still got to be filled with compassion, and you still got to move in action. But I promise you it'll be worth it. And listen, last thing, you might get to see what difference you make. You may. You may run into the football player that's like, hey, coach. You may. Or it might be heaven. Okay? It might be heaven before God sits you down in the front row and, unbeknownst to you, surrounds you with all the people that you've served and the difference that it's made in their lives. And He lets you enjoy what the end of the stories that you never heard about. And listen, that's why we walk by faith and not by sight. Listen, we serve by faith and not by sight. We don't serve to see the results. We serve because we serve a God who asks us to imitate Him in serving. And the God who sees everything will reward you. No act of service is going unrewarded. It's not. It's never. You might not see the difference here, but one day we'll have a good party. And one day there'll be people around you that say, wow, thanks. Thanks. But guys, it's up to you. Create some margin. Schedule some margin. Act on your compassion. Get a ready response ready. And be a servant. Let's pray. God, thanks for your love for us. Thanks for leading the way. Thanks for stepping into a servant that we talked about last week. Jesus Christ, humble servant. Just may we imitate you with our lives and trust you with the results. We love you and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, you guys have a great week.